benefit not only our county, but the Tri-County region. So I'm really pleased to share with Jeff and John. We're going to go through some of the data that you're going to see is old data. Some of the data is new data. So we're trying to present information that is pertinent to the council. Economic data, commerce, what it means to local business, and what it means to our local economy. So without further ado, okay. So one of the things I was sharing yesterday, and we did a couple of presentations yesterday on the same topic, is Hollister High School is number 2 in Northern California in terms of size and enrollment. And I've shared this with many folks. We don't want to be on this list. This is a list that actually, being a very competitive person in a very competitive district, we don't want to be in the top 10. We actually want to get off this list. So if we take a look here, we're number 2 behind Pittsburgh High School. Dublin was the largest school, and they just built Emerald High School. Dublin is the fastest growing city in the state of California. So our ultimate goal is to come off the list. Why is it impactful to all of our students and our families? We're growing faster than every large high school in Northern California. There are only 2 in double-digit percentage growth, and that is Clovis and Folsom. 2 areas that have a lot of residential growth and growth over time. And so you can see on the chart a lot of declining enrollment throughout the state, but not us, and we grew faster than everybody. Our 10-year historical enrollment, I've told our board this many times, and community members, we're really trying to solve a 30-year problem, or a 30-year challenge. That 30-year challenge was there when I started in 1998, it was there probably in 1995, but we were pretty static for many, many years, 2,500, 2,800, 2,700, and then we hit kind of that crest. The moratorium, projects started to come online, we bumped up to the 3,000 number, and then all of a sudden in COVID, we had a confluence of things happen. We had more migration from Silicon Valley down because of affordability. We had more families doubling up in this community than ever before. And folks settled here because they could work remotely. So now we have the virtual worker from home living in our county and their children going to school. So that confluence really bumped us up over the 3,500 number. If we take a look at where we're looking for the future and our forecasting, it's very important. We're projecting every single year the number of known developments and projects that are in both the city and the county. We're looking at every single project because we have a student generation rate. On the left is the city of Hollister, 3,412 units that we know of, either in some form or fashion in the approval process. On the right, we have 1,100 in the county. Some of these have been approved and they're just waiting for a building permit to pull. Some are moving through the approval process. But when we look at this, what does this mean to the district? And what does it mean for our local community? 4,500 homes and about 1,600 new students, additional students, in the K-12 pipeline. And when we look at this, we look at how many students would actually be secondary students. And our student generation rate is 0.35 at our peak enrollment. So that means that for every one house, we're getting 0.35 of a child. And it's actually greater than most districts in the state of California. And that is an affordability issue for our county. If we take a look at what our forecasting we have to do as a board and as a district, every year our board has to adopt a developer fee, and we have to go through a developer fee report. It is a statute and a regulation that we must do to be able to charge a per square foot fee. Part of that is an analysis. We take a look at all the known developments, we take a look at all the students we have, we take a look at the capacity and the seats available at the high school, and then we do a forecast, and it's a 5-year projection. That projection, we have to safely say that we can house every student in a known development. Because remember, we're a public high school, our charge is we have to accept everybody. So when we take a look at that, we're looking at 877 unhoused students in a next 5 years. That means 877 students above our capacity. Our capacity is 3437. So when we look at our forecasting and we talk about L&M and the need for a second high school, that need is great. And then the last slide that I'm going to talk about in-depthly, and I'm going to turn it over to my colleagues, is the heat map that we've generated. So if you take a look at this, and you're going to get this presentation, we'll send it to Christina so you can look at it. We charted every single student in the district, so by home and by residence. We charted them whether they were on free and reduced lunch, whether they were unduplicated, the Latino Hispanic, whether they were white, or they declined to stay. So what you're looking at is a map, and if you look at the center, kind of like a thumb with a, with a hand with a thumb up, that's Hollister High School. If you look to the northwest and the north, and you look at those bright yellow areas, that is the densest student population in our district. It also represents the greatest quantity of students with free and reduced lunch that come to our high school. So if we take a look down by Ridgemark, and we look down by our Best Road property, you can see maybe a little bit of purple down there, but not many students are being generated. The greatest quantity is in the northwest and the north. This aided us greatly when making a decision on the location for the second high school. It's not about where we could be, it's where we need to be.
Okay. Hello everyone, my name is John Fusetta. I'm the Chief Business Officer with the high school district. So Sean just relayed to you all the reasons why a second high school is needed. The next obvious question is, how would it be paid for? To begin a little context, in the last 5 years, no high school, comprehensive high school, has been built in the state of California without a bond. So that's just a key point. It's the reality. In addition to local funding, there are two other main legs that fund educational construction, namely the state funding as well as developer fees. And I'm going to touch briefly on each of these three topics. To begin, as Sean stated, we have two bonds coming out, Measures L and Measures M. These are two companion bonds valued at $70 million each. These two bonds together will allow us to build this second high school. Why two bonds? Believe it or not, from a financial efficiency perspective, having two bonds versus one large one is actually better for the taxpayer. When you come down to that per $100,000 cost on assessed value, it is actually more inexpensive to have two. So that was our primary motivator for having two bonds. The next big question that comes, what if only one passes? As cited, we are already over capacity. As cited, there were already many students sitting in the pipeline. If only one bond passes, then we are going to build at half the size. Because in the end, students are still coming and they need to be placed in. A few years will go by and we will go out again to complete the comprehensive high school with all of the cost increases that will occur in that time. That is why it is the wisest choice for us to move forward now. The next big question, and often a point of confusion when I talk to people, is how much it's going to cost me or someone individually. So we've included this table here, which shows various assessed values and what the cost would be. You can see we have highlighted that $526K. That is the average single home assessed value within the school district's area of service. So that average amount leads to $200 a year combined for Measures L and M. So that $200 annually will allow us to move forward with that second high school. And you can see that comes down on a per month at $1,668. Now, we've shared this a few times, and even then, we've been knocking on doors on weekends, trying to get the word out, trying to share information. There is still confusion on what is this going to cost me. So we've actually found this parcel identifier, so anyone can go through and put in their own address and find their assessed value. Using that, they can follow this fairly simple mathematical equation to divide the value by 100,000, get that amount, multiply it by the multiplier. You can see a $466,000 assessed value would have an annual tax of $177. Divided by 12 per month, $14. What about the other legs? So state funding, what is the state going to do? The key point is this: state funding only comes when we have the local contribution. Without a bond passing, without that local contribution, the district cannot get in line to receive that state funding. So I mentioned 270s, that's 140 million. Just by passing that, our district will be in line to receive an additional 46 million. That is the second leg. The third leg after that is developer fees. Again, a common question when we knock on the door: why aren't the developers paying more? The value that you see up there, $4.21, is the maximum legal value that we can require. Every single year, we do a facility needs analysis so that we can ensure that that value is as high as it can be. Sorry, developers. But we need to have that, because in the end, more families coming in, more students require this infrastructure to expand. But regardless, that third leg, the developer, is the smallest on the graph out of the three. So here you can see our budget plan, 140 million from local contribution, that state matching funds at 46, and the developer fees at 30. Rounded off with the district contribution at 2.6. That is our funding strategy for the second high school. And with that, I will hand it back to Dr. Tenbaum.
Thank you, Johnny. So let's take a look at what we project for the campus master plan. So we've done everything possible to accelerate our program. Time is money in our business. When you're building, we can't waste time. So we have a design done. It will be submitted when the bonds pass in November, optimistic thinking. It'll be submitted to the Division of State Architect. If we waited until after the bonds would pass, we'd be behind by a year and a half. And that year and a half would put us another year and a half behind for state matching funds. So everything we've tried to do is to accelerate in the anticipation of success, and success for our children. So when I share this with folks, when I share our different campus, our campus is 63 acres. We had a north campus, and over time it was built to the south campus. It's a big, sprawling campus. It's beautiful. It has all of the amenities. But what kids are looking for is opportunity and access. Opportunity and access comes in many forms and fashion. When many of you were in school, we did not have any cuts in our athletic program. They were all-comer sports. I'll give you a perfect example of where we are today. We added girls flag football. Beautiful sport, one of the fastest growing sports in the state of California. And if you ever want to go see a fun game, go. We had 80 female athletes try out. Only 40 of them made it. So we created 40 new opportunities, but 40 athletes couldn't make the team. In track and field, last year we had 305 male and female athletes try out, and only 180 made the team. So right now, the opportunities for students to be engaged in positive things are diminished. So when we look at the second high school, please just don't think of it as an academic institution. It is an institution to engage in co-curricular, extracurricular, clubs, all of the things that make kids want to go to school every day. So we're looking at 1,200 students to start, fall of 29. Our goal, August of 2029, I think it's the current fourth graders, if I'm not mistaken, would be enrolled in. 46 teaching stations, core academics, and then the ability to expand over time. That is our goal. And if you look at this, it's a much more compact type campus. Why? Connectivity, collaboration, supervision, safety, sightlines. We need to reduce the footprint and create the people-to-people contact in a positive way. So I'm going to turn it over to Jeff, and Jeff is going to bring us home today.
Well, thank you very much, Sean, and it's really great to be here. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Jeff Small. I am the municipal advisor or financial advisor to the San Benito High School District, and very proud to serve in that capacity. I'm registered with the United States Securities and Exchange Commission, And my main role is to maximize the district's financial resources and minimize any costs that a major project like this would put on the public. Very frequently you'll hear us say that high quality education has a positive economic impact on a local community. And that is a qualitative statement, is an absolutely true statement. And today what I'd like to do is just spend a few minutes with you quantifying what we mean when we say that. So this might be somewhat difficult for you to see, but this is a chart of the economic value of three main economic events. The first economic event is the operation of current Hollister High School District. The second economic event is the construction of a second high school. The third economic event is the future operation of a second high school with 1,200 students. Now this data has been put together through a combination of sources. Interviewing and looking at the district's operations, talking to construction experts, looking at federal statistics that are available, modeling this information, and coming before you with basically trying to quantify what is the value of the high school district and that second high school. And as you can see here, the district makes a local investment of $58 million. Now that money is spent here in San Benito County. And you can see that $58 million, when teachers come to work, they get paid, they go to restaurants, they get gas, they buy groceries, and there is an economic impact for every dollar in compensation that an employee might get. There is a multiplying effect that actually creates an additional 27 cents that is available to the local community. So for $58 million, we're creating almost $74 million in economic activity in the local community. We're also showing what that means for the tri-state tri-community area, being Santa Clara, because this is a joint school district, Monterey and San Benito. And as you can see, the further you go out, the economic impacts actually increase. Construction of a second high school, we have a budget of about $220 million. But we don't count all of that spending for purposes of determining what the economic impact that will be for the local community. Why? Well, because when you buy land, that is really transferring money to property. So we don't count that. When we buy things like furniture and equipment, unfortunately, not all of that furniture and equipment is built here and sourced here, so we don't count that as an economic activity. But what we can tell you is $205 million will be spent here. And the impact on that investment is $263 million for this community. So what that means is there's going to be construction people working. Not only that, there's going to be resources and materials that are going to be needed. Granite, concrete, sand, landscaping materials. I mean, think about it. It's going to take a lot of different economic activities. So there are a lot of businesses that benefit. There's also, like I said, there's gas, there's groceries, there's restaurant, household spending on rent. That creates a very solid multiplier. And it comes out to $1.28 for every dollar invested. I'd also just like to take a minute, because one of the things John spoke about was the state funding of $46.4 million. That $46 million is money that residents in the local community paid in income taxes that goes off to California. And by virtue of the fact that we will have a project and we have the eligibility to apply for a project, if these two measures pass, that means $46 million is eligible to come back into the community. So that is fresh cash into this community that also has that multiplier effect. So you can take that 46 million, multiply it by $1.28, and you can see how important that state funding is to benefit the businesses of the local community. Finally, we have some assumptions there of the future high school. At 1,200 students, the payroll is a little bit less. We start at 17 million. We go up to 23 million as far as what that investment means. And by the way, that's, that happens on an every year basis. So that's ongoing revenue. And we understand, the high school district understands that for many businesses in the community, a high school may be one of the larger clients of many of the local businesses. So it's very important to us. We do a lot of outreach. We want the community to be successful. We want high quality education because we understand the economic value and the importance to it on just a very real level. We're a real business. We don't have the uncertainty that other businesses might have because we have a legal requirement to educate students, but we have certainty that businesses don't. And so we really want to do everything we can to help the local community. Now, I know I'm taking a lot of your time. I do have two other items that I want to touch on. We talked about dollars. If you don't mind, I'd like to talk about people, and then I'd also like to talk about property, if that's okay. So there's also a multiplier effect when it comes down to employees. There's 358 employees at Hollister High School. Sorry about that. There is a multiplier of 1.25. So for every single employee, there's a quarter of an employee that is supported in another job. So for example, let's say that you work at the high school and after work you go to the grocery store, right? You spend some money. Well, you're helping to support other jobs. And in this case, there's 91 jobs that are supported by the employment at Hollister High School for a total jobs of 448. Now, with the construction of a high school, the multiplier is a little bit higher. It's 1.83. And the reason that is because construction projects tend to be more labor intensive and have a larger multiplier impact. This is a temporary impact, but you see there's 340 employees to construct the high school. There's 281 jobs supported. All those folks that are going to be working on the construction of the high school, they're going to have lunch. They'll go to the Heavenly Bakery. They may pick up pizza. I know I've seen a high school district go and pick up pizzas for folks working on that new cafeteria. So this is real money. It comes into the economy. It circulates. It supports jobs. I'll stop on that because I want to keep going a little bit further, because one of the things I started with was the high quality education having a positive economic input. As you all know, and I know that there's many people in this room that are in the real estate business, the first thing your customers ask, or the first thing they'll want to know is, how good are the schools? Good schools are in demand by families that are looking to buy a home. And so there's a very good article that was published in 2010, and I think it's still relevant today, but it's really the few things that I've actually have read that actually quantify what the appreciation is to homes by having good schools. And basically what the article says is it can add anywhere from $1.13 to $1.50. Another way of saying it is 6% a year following a couple years after the passage of a bond measure, and that can continue for some time. So as an example, let's say you have a home that's worth, and we'll just do easy numbers, let's say it's $500,000. Well, you might be paying $200 a year, for a couple years, call it 3 years. Now, that might be $600. In that time, your home will appreciate by at least 6%, and on $500,000, that's $30,000. So, and you can do the math. It can be very powerful. At that $1.13, that would be $65,000. So, this is a sample. so it's more anecdotal, but the economic values are very real. So I'm going to turn it back to Sean.
So, thank you for the opportunity. We have been sharing a lot of the educational benefits, connectivity, opportunity, access. We wanted to take this opportunity with the Business Council to share the economic impact and the value to our local economy. Not only the value to our local economy, but the ongoing compounded value. So today we're asking for your support. We're seeking the endorsement of the council. We think this is a wise decision for our community. It's not only an investment in our youth, but it's an investment in the local community and our economy. I thank you for the opportunity. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask. Jeff, John, and I will be here. This presentation will be in your inbox. We'll share it with Christina. Thank you so much and have a beautiful